Hello, hello, everyone. I am very purple here with all of these lovely people.
Hello.
We are blessed to have Julie Ryan, the purple lady over here in the corner, who's in town from Alabama, and she is going to give us, tomorrow night we're recording live on Optimystic. She's the Soul Share guest. And so we are, she stopped by to have some wonderful food from Mr. Ian in the back over there, our chef extraordinaire. And now she's been gracious enough to offer to do a live demo. So if you guys recall, when she's on the podcast, she's a medical intuitive and sort of has a psychic buffet of gifts. And we're going to get a little demo here. And it's me and the Mystic Manor guests this week. My son Bradley in the back eating over there. Bradley, wave. Everyone wave. All right. So just to give you a little heads up on what the heck's going on here. And we just wanted to give you guys a sneak peek into the happenings here at the Mystic Manor on this Friday night. All right. Miss Julie, you're the boss.
All right. I love it when you talk to me like that.
You're the boss. I just work here.
Yeah. So I tell everybody I'm a businesswoman that does woo-woo. And I learned how to do all of this woo-woo stuff. I'm not one of those psychics who's had dead people chasing her since childhood, or if I did, I didn't know it. And so what I do is I raise my vibrational level to the level of spirit, because when we're attached to a body, we vibrate more slowly simply because the body has mass. So it would be the equivalent of taking an electrical current and putting it through a bowl of Jello. It's going to slow down the current. It's not going to vibrate as quickly. So what I do is I raise my vibrational level, and then I connect with spirit, either alive or deceased or whatever. And most of the work I do is remote. So I would say 99.999% of it is remote. So I can hook into anybody anywhere in the world and hook into any deceased person. So if you want to talk to Einstein or your dead grandma or Ben Franklin or whomever,
are you ever bored? I just could never imagine having like a dual moment of like, oh well, got nothing to do. I guess we'll just hang out with Einstein.
Yeah.
See what Jesus is up to.
Right. Exactly. Well, I turn it on and off. Most of the time I don't have it on.
Yeah.
It's, I don't walk around scanning people because I don't think it's ethical, first of all, to do that. And secondly, it's none of my darn business. And thirdly, I don't really want to know. Imagine being in a crowd of people and going, okay, that one's got that going on and that one's got that going on. Whatever, it's too much. Yeah. So my buffet of psychicness that Brandon was talking about is most of the work that I do is medical. I'm an inventor of orthopedic surgery devices that are sold throughout the world. And I have founded 9 companies in 5 industries. So I'm an entrepreneur in a...
Wow, 9 companies. That's impressive.
In 5 industries, different industries.
As an entrepreneur,
people say, how are they related? I'll say, well, I took money from one and I started something else with it.
Wow.
So the medical stuff is really interesting to me because so many people come to me from all over the world and they've been to multiple doctors, and this from being in the medical provider industry, that they've been to multiple doctors and gotten multiple diagnoses and multiple treatment programs, and they still have symptoms. And so it's like I'm a human MRI almost. And so I can see in my mind's eye broken bones, torn ligaments, viral infections, bacterial infections. I watch healings happen that are all across the board. Sometimes they involve something getting removed, something getting added. Oftentimes I'll see energetic healings that emulate what I saw in operating rooms for all those decades when I was developing products and testing prototypes and things like that. And sometimes I see energetic healings happen with methodologies and devices that I don't believe have been invented yet. And so that's fun.
That's
because
wild.
that appeals to my inventor brain. And oftentimes when that happens, if I'm seeing something new and I don't really understand where it is, I can call one of my colleagues, and I have surgeons and other physicians and geneticists and people who are experts. I'll say, what the heck am I seeing? And then they'll help me make sense of it. And then it's like I keep reaching higher and higher vibrational levels, and I see more and more sophisticated healings happen. So, so it's really fun. So I do that. We can talk to your dead grandma. We can talk to whoever you want. I scan pets. We can talk to deceased pets, alive pets. Sometimes if pets are a challenge, their owners will call me and they'll say, talk to Fluffy because Fluffy's driving me nuts. And we'll find out what Fluffy's got going on. There's a guy who called me from Riverside, actually.
Yeah.
And his cat wouldn't eat. And so he said, what do I need to get my cat? And the cat wanted Friskies. And he said, I'm buying this fancy cat food and the cat won't touch it. So he went and bought her Friskies and she's eating like champ. Hilarious.
Wow.
I know,
Well,
yeah.
fried chicken.
So do that past life stuff. We were talking about that.
That's very interesting.
That's really fun to do past life stuff. And I do it differently than anybody I've ever heard. A lot of times it involves hypnosis. I just imagine myself walking down the hallway and it's very narrow with probably 40-foot tall ceilings. And it has 12 by 12-inch square mirrors that line the walls. And each mirror represents a different lifetime. So we'll ask a question like, does Brandon have a past life that he was an entertainer in? And the mirrors that correspond with those lifetimes will come out from the walls if they're on a hydraulic arm.
Wow.
And then I'll say, show me the one that correlates the most, and I'll imagine myself walking into it.
Wow.
And I'm showing.
Can we do that?
Sure. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's really fun. Then we'll correlate it with what's going on in your current life. So that's fun. Spirit guide stuff is fun. I'm a buffet of psychicness, whatever. Once you hit that really high vibrational level, you can access anything you want. Whatever information. And it's like our heads are satellite dishes and we tune to a frequency. There's not an original thought.
Right.
It's tuning to the frequency to pull in that thought
Mm-hmm.
and that information. So anything we can imagine, we can access, which is really mind-blowing when you think about it.
Yeah.
So it's really
Yeah, I
fun.
think we'll just keep you here in that chair and just
Yeah.
let you be like the house.
We'll bring
we're
all night,
like
until taping tomorrow.
Whatever
Don't feed
you
it.
need.
Yeah. What you say?
Professor X.
Yeah, fun. Or or I could you could live stream me and we could do that. That would be fun actually.
Yeah.
With the audience participation thing.
Super good idea.
Yeah, that's fun. So who's got a question? Do you want to do a past life thing?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay, all right, what's the question? Have you
Well, okay, so I had someone come up to me and start sharing something. I was in Tahoe recently, and this person started like rattling off, like sitting next to me. I was actually playing blackjack, and I did not expect. I deal with a lot of woo-woo stuff. I didn't expect in Tahoe playing blackjack. This woman came up and started rattling off stuff about past lives to me, and so I found that really interesting. I don't know. She shared actually 2 different lives, and although it seemed like and I don't know if I should go into it or not, or just see what you come up with, but what she claimed, one of them was pretty grandiose, and so it felt like, okay, it's like kind of like everyone's Cleopatra sort of thing. I mean, it was, she didn't have an exact name, but it was definitely, someone that was royalty, and she gave quite a bit of detail, about the person and and this person had a bunch of children, and then she went back to like further back, and she goes, okay, you're a woman before and you couldn't have children, and so in that life you had all these children, and now you're okay with whatever, which is true. I mean, I have one son, and it hasn't
one and done, reach perfection the
Yeah,
first
exactly,
time, right?
exactly. So I found that interesting. I'd be curious to and I've had a few different intuitives come on. I had someone a while years ago on the show who said that all my guides, there was one that was jumping up and down that was like lion, and she said she thought it was Richard Lionheart and that it was really connected to him. I've had it multiple times with like this European like royalty thing come up. I mean, I had the Princess of Norway was here last Saturday for the first taping. Her dad's the King of Norway, so I'm just curious. That's my ancestry too. It's all 99.9%
Well, the thing about past lives, which I find so fascinating, and there's always a correlation with what's going on in your current life, is that it's as if we have a script that we can activate in multiple lifetimes, different setting, obviously, different time period, different set of circumstances. And I equate it to the movie A Star is Born that came out last year with Gaga and Bradley Cooper. You know, that was the fourth remake of that movie. And so it was the same script, but obviously a different timeline and a different cast of characters and things like that. And so I think we repeat that script because it gives us the opportunity to look at things from a different perspective. Certainly I'll see when it's a past life for a woman and there's been that recurring theme over multiple lifetimes. Well, in today's world, it's much different for women than it was in
the person
previous
said to me, I hated being a
generations.
woman. It was like supposedly like the 1300s. Like you
Yeah,
hated being
you couldn't
like
do anything.
not having like
Yeah,
men
no power.
marginalizing you.
Yeah.
You're like, that was not your bag, like at all.
Right. So what's a question of something that you want to know? And then we'll go.
I mean, I thought that was an interesting one, and I don't want to hog it either. I want these guys to get.
Yeah.
So I mean, what is it? If I had a past life related question, what would it be? I thought what you said was pretty interesting. Is there an entertainer connection? And then like I said, this royalty thing has popped up a few times now, or connection. So I think that's interesting too. I'm sure I've been a peasant more times than I can count, which is interesting too. But the highlight ones are pretty cool. So maybe what's the most significant past life tied to this one? Maybe that's just a good one.
There's hundreds, if not thousands, of past lives. So we'd be here like for 20 years.
I mean, do you have based off of everything I've shared, do you have a recommended question?
I think the royalty thing is good. I got Tahiti. You were Tahitian royalty in 1747.
Oh, wow.
And you were a prince in that. And you kind of were like a Tahitian. 1747.
Tropical.
Was tropical. Right.
Wow, very interesting.
So, but royalty during that time, I mean, you still would go and spear your fish and
right.
catch dinner and stuff like
right.
that. It wasn't like you were walking around with a crown on your head.
Right, and Tahiti wasn't quite like
wasn't
England.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So there's that. What came in for me was did you have something to do with Merlin the Magician in Camelot?
Did I tell you this already?
No. Like,
why
you were talking
about.
wow.
Okay, I just got chills because that was the one I was about to ask you. My very close friend, who supposedly we have a lot of past life stuff, and there's been a lot of he was supposed to leave and live here, and it wasn't quite in alignment. And he had someone recently tell him that he was King Arthur and I was Merlin. Yeah, and I just kind of laughed it off because it's so grandiose. And
I don't get that you were Merlin, but I get you were a protege at Merlin's.
Interesting. Yeah, that's what he was told by someone just like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And that he was also a priest, and we were both priests in a past life, and I had him killed because we differed, which I could totally say.
What about your astrological sign? Leo is royalty.
Yeah.
Like I said,
The Merlin thing, that's
Merlin
interesting.
thing.
Yeah.
That's
Merlin
interesting
thing.
you brought that up because that was just told to me like 2 months ago. I don't even think I've said it on the show because I'm like, that's just so grandiose and like sort of.
Well, some people don't even believe that really happened.
Yeah, right.
The round table and
I did have a woman on the show a few months ago who leads people on tours of like Merlin's cave and like it's all about Celtic. I mean, I have Celtic stuff up in my office. I mean, my studio now. And so I was really intrigued. I was like, I want to go with you and do a tour of that, Ireland and England and see all, that sort of like, I don't know, metaphysical, legend type tour. And she does, goes to like stone circles and things like that. So
I do get that you're a protege of Merlin's. I do get that you knew Guinevere, the queen.
Interesting.
I do get that you were somebody that was into lotions and potions.
Interesting.
you know, you like to kind of like an old-fashioned chemist,
Right.
alchemist,
Alchemist.
yeah,
Interesting.
alchemist, where you were mixing lotions and potions, and you were the guy to go to for the potions,
Interesting.
you know, of Merlin's
Wow.
proteges.
So I was like Merlin's dealer.
You were Merlin's assistant, kind of a thing. You were very involved with the knights
Mm-hmm.
of the round table, and you would come and you would give them stuff to drink and give them lotions and potions to take with them into battle.
Wow.
And so how does this correlate with Brandon's current life? I'm getting that you come up with creative ways to help people. That's
Mhm.
obvious.
Yeah.
And a lot of those ways are things that are new.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're new, creative. This is an example,
Mm-hmm.
kind of a thing. But I do get that in several lifetimes you've been involved with chemistry.
Hmm.
You know, you've been a chemist and you've
I can see that.
run labs.
Mm-hmm.
I get that you've been a professor. You've worked in chemistry professionally.
Interesting.
I can see you in a lab with beakers and the
More
chemist-
more recently,
chemist
past.
kind of stuff. I'm getting
Do you get future life stuff too?
we can.
Ooh, that's
Yeah, we
fun.
can.
Oh,
Yeah, we can.
That's interesting.
But I get 1937. You worked for a precursor of Monsanto.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
yeah, as a chemist. This chemist thing is
Uh-huh.
very prevalent in
Interesting.
several lifetimes. You're kind of in this,
Modern magician.
modern, exactly. Yeah, modern
Interesting.
magician. That's a great way to put it. So,
That's really funny that you brought up the Merlin things.
yeah.
I mean, that was just told to me, and I'm just like, yeah, dude, like, that's cute.
Yeah.
Like, but I haven't even talked to anyone about it. Maybe I mentioned it, here and there, but not much because I didn't give it a lot of,
But you lived in the castle with
Really?
King Arthur and all of them. Merlin didn't, but
interesting.
you did.
Really?
You had an area where you were developing. I don't know that you had a black cauldron
Yeah.
over a fire,
Wow.
but you were coming up with concoctions. And you would go out in the woods and you would gather stuff, and then you would come in and cook it down and make like a poultice and make like a broth or something along those lines. So I think you have a visitor.
Yeah. Hello. Come in, whoever you are. Hey, Emma. How are you?
Hello.
I'm just- Hello, Alvin. How are you? We're getting a little live demo here from Julie. She's just telling me about my life in King Arthur's castle as a potion maker.
King Arthur's horse.
Yeah, and so we're hearing some cool past life stuff here at the moment. You're welcome to come in and chill, and I know you're here to paint, but
Thank you. Yeah, we're picking up my stuff and going.
oh, you are.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have a early flight tomorrow.
Oh, right. Okay.
Back to Florida,
Nice
right?
seeing you.
Yeah.
Nice
Nice
meeting you.
Yeah.
Enjoy the rest of your time here.
We shall.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Yes.
So do you see why do you think that one came up as like, do you think it's correlation to this life in some way?
Oh yeah, very much so.
Huh.
That you're concocting things.
Right.
Yeah, you are.
It's true.
You're concocting things, not necessarily in a lab,
Yep.
and not necessarily with
Experience.
herbs.
This is a little bit of a lab. This
Yeah,
is definitely
you're like
experimental.
No, I mean,
Yeah, no, I know. It's not chemistry.
chemist
Yeah.
lab
Yeah, right.
kind of a thing. So
Interesting.
yeah, concoctions. You're concocting things,
Interesting.
and it has a profound effect on people's lives.
Hmm.
Is what I'm getting. So you're like a modern day alchemist in a lot of ways.
I like that.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Fun.
That's fun. I mean, that's a good hit because I mean, literally, that was told to me 2 months ago. So I wonder if my friend is really attached to King Arthur, like or like he thought, like he was told. He heard
Maybe.
that he was King Arthur, and that I was, really.
I don't get he was King Arthur.
He must have been around for him to even have gotten that.
I think around King Arthur and King Arthur's court or in his
Mhm.
time or whatever. But
Mhm.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
You're
That's
welcome.
super fun.
Who else? Okay.
Okay, I hogged that.
Who's
You
got a
guys.
question?
Who's up?
Ian.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
I've never done anything like this.
He's down in the Cave of Wonders.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get him before he falls asleep.
So, question about anything. I mean, if I can
Was I
scan you
was I
medically.
a
we
warrior?
Were you a voyeur?
A warrior.
A warrior.
According to the neighbor lady, yes, you were a
Like a
warrior. 2
samurai?
nights ago.
Yeah.
Samurai just came to mind actually, with
Dope.
the whole outfit, the whole armor and all that kind of stuff.
You know.
Actually, in what's now known as Kyoto, Japan.
Yeah.
I get. I don't know that you saw battle, but you were prepared for it. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Oh.
I think you were a teacher of, of battle stuff, is what I'm getting. So, do you have questions about that?
No, it was just a random question.
Yeah. That you just thought that you were a warrior in a past life?
No. I was just wondering because I haven't done anything like this, so I was like, what could I ask? And that was the first thing that popped in my head.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you were a warrior in multiple lifetimes. Multiple lifetimes.
Cool.
So. Oh, who's next?
I got a question.
Sir.
Physically,
Yeah.
low back weirdness and I just can't work it out. I don't know.
Low back weirdness, pain.
Discomfort more than pain. Like I'm always
Okay.
twisted and trying to get things popping. I don't know. There's something you can diagnose or
Yeah. So I have you on my radar
okay.
right now. And so when I have somebody on my radar, it's like I'm looking at a hologram of them,
Okay.
and you've been turned around to the back. And so you look like you have a little bit of scoliosis, a little bit of curvature in your spine on the right side. The spine, and I'm preaching to the choir because this is your wheelhouse. If you look at somebody from the back, their spine is supposed to be straight up and down. So yours curves a little bit to the right, around your waist, a little bit below your waist. And then if you look at somebody from the side, of course, it curves because of your neck. And so what I watch as a healing happen a lot is, I call it spinal fusion, and it's really not, but it's what I call it. And so there's a rod placed on the left side of your spine. There's a rod placed on the right side where that curvature is. Your spine is heated up so that it's similar to pottery clay. If a potter is forming some kind of design out of clay, it needs to be moldable. So I watch a laser heat it up, and the one that's on the left stays stationary. The one that's on the right is very slowly moving that curvature over to the left. And when it gets in place, I can feel it snap into a groove, similar to a sliding glass door has a groove, or a screen door, or screen over a sliding glass door. And so that's happened at this point. And once it's in line, then I watch it get lasered again to get heated up. And then it's like it fires it, like a potter again would fire their creation in the kiln to make it solid. And then those rods just fall off. It reminds me of Cape Canaveral when a rocket takes off and the tower just falls off to the side and disappears. So now I'm watching an energetic chiropractic adjustment where your spine's being lined up. And it reminds me of taking a mallet and going across a xylophone, just all the way up. Yeah. And I'm really descriptive when I'm doing medical stuff, especially because the body's always going to follow what the brain's showing it, even if the brain doesn't believe it. And an example of that is if you've ever watched a really scary movie and your brain knows it's make-believe, but your heart feels like it's going to jump out of your chest because you're so afraid. So why I'm so descriptive about the healings is because your body's going to integrate it better if you can envision what I'm seeing in my head. It's been my experience, which I think Tiger Woods, see the ball, be the ball kind of a thing. And we have tremendous capabilities to heal ourselves with just visualizations and beliefs too.
I gotta say,
yeah.
you know, on the podcast, you did the whole thing with me having to pee a lot more than
Yeah.
normal, and it's definitely been better.
Good.
I really didn't honestly necessarily expect it to be better.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm open, but it's, you know, it's like, I'd say you're doing medical remote healings is probably the far end of woo-woo, right? Like it's pretty extreme. Like, oh, I'm scanning your body. You were in Alabama at the time I'm here, and now I'm going to send healing, and there's definitely been an improvement.
Wonderful. And how healings happen and how they integrate is, I think there's a multitude of ways. First of all, it can be instant, and that's really fun, especially when scans are different, because that freaks out the docs sometimes. They're going, what the heck is this? And so that's fun. It can take days, weeks, months to integrate into the body. It can take some type of adjunct therapy, like physical therapy, or even surgery, or change your diet, or whatever, that kind of thing. And then sometimes, and it's rare, but sometimes it doesn't integrate into the body because that's not what the spirit wants to experience in this lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always the spirit's prerogative to utilize the healing however it's going to best go with what that spirit wants to experience in this lifetime.
Right.
And so when I see healings occur, whatever the problem is healed on the energetic level. Now it's just up to the body to integrate into it, and it's up to the body and that person's spirit. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
To integrate that together.
Totally.
And it's always the spirit's prerogative how it's, you know, how it goes about and how long it takes and if it works or not. So
Very cool.
okay, who else has a question for me?
I'll go last.
I was gonna say, well, I want to know why I just want to be a writer so badly. Like, what was I a writer in past lives?
Yeah. Well, because that's your spirit's path. That's what yeah, I can see you with a pen, like in an inkwell, you know, a quill pen, the old-fashioned quill pen, writing by candlelight as a man.
Oh,
As a man. And the setting, we talked about Ben Franklin earlier. The setting looks like Ben Franklin's time, you know, with the quill and the. I get that you've been a poet. You've written poetry. You've been very into philosophy.
Makes sense.
Are you into those things now?
yeah.
Are you? Yeah.
I keep talking his ear off about.
Is that right? I get that you've written poetry in a monastery before. Yeah, you're a monk. You're a monk. Yeah.
That's so you.
I knew it.
I get that you've been an abbess too.
What's an abbess?
An abbess is a nun that runs an abbey,
Okay.
usually an order of cloistered nuns that all live, you know, where they don't see the regular public, like in The Sound of Music, Maria.
Yeah.
Lived in a
How do you
cloistered abbey.
solve a problem like Maria?
That's right. Yeah. So the poetry especially, but the philosophy comes into the poetry, is what I get. And I see you published. Yeah.
So your writing is out there right now, waiting for you to discover it.
Are you published now?
No, but I want to be.
Yeah. Well, then in this day and age, you can publish whatever you want yourself. I mean, you know, and take it from there. So, do you utilize poetry with your children that you teach?
I should.
Yeah, I get that
considered.
I get that there's a huge possibility in your path to integrate poetry into the work you do with these kids. And what do you say, emotionally disturbed?
Mm-hmm.
Which is different from special needs. But
They're considered special needs. It's just considered other health impairments, like ADHD is considered other health impairment.
I can see a whole curriculum with poetry with that niche of student
Mhm,
that you will, if you want,
mhm.
you know, that's where free will and destiny intersect.
Yes,
I love that.
yes.
I love that saying that you do all the time.
Mhm.
There's a huge, 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 huge thing in your path if you choose to go down that fork in the road, where you would be teaching the teachers, and it's a poetry thing that deals with helping these kids, and I believe that it will spill over into helping adults as well,
Into what?
helping adults
Oh.
as well. And I also get that there's going to be a curriculum where the children will write poetry as well, and that can be volumes published,
Okay.
and that can really help families
Mhm.
who have a child like that. Not only help the children, but help the families to understand how their minds work,
Great idea.
and that will spur other treatment methodologies and education methodologies. And I mean, I can see you speaking on this all over the world. It really has.
Bam!
It really has. I mean, I'm getting the chills telling you about this. This has so much
Wow.
potential. So you're integrating a bunch of different things that you're interested in, you know, that don't seem related, but you can make them related. That makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
It does. I
Yeah.
think. I just And then and you can ask about future lives, right?
Here's the deal on future stuff. Here's the deal.
Let's
Yeah,
get weird.
Give me the rundown.
Am I gonna be rich?
If I were a rich man, right?
Yeah.
Things that have happened in the past are set. Things that are happening right now are set. Things that are in the future, destiny and free will. There are about a bazillion variables that come into play that can affect an outcome of the future. So I can give you what the future is at this moment in time. It may be different tomorrow. It may be different next week. It may be different because you think about all the different variables that converge to make an outcome. And that's where our brains go into brain freeze, because the human mind doesn't have the capacity, at least so far, not to say that it can't, but doesn't have the capacity to do all the calculations. I mean, that would be like an algorithm explosion of, okay, well, there are a million variables that can affect a million people who are going to have a different effect that are going to affect you, that are all of that. A really fun story, though, about a future thing. I had a guy call into my show one time, and he is an engineer, and he wanted to know if he'd been an engineer in any past lives. And so we got one, and it looked like the set of Star Wars to me. And I thought, oh, this is cool. This is a future thing. And there were flying vehicles and towers, and
Cool.
I mean, it looked like Star Wars,
Wow.
like one of those cities that's portrayed in Star Wars. And so, but I got it was a past life on a different planet in a different solar system.
Wow.
And so
Long time
he
ago.
was in charge of the electrical grid.
Wow.
And I said to him, "What kind of engineer are you?" And he said, "I'm an electrical engineer." I said, "Well, there you go." Yeah, so that was fun. Yeah.
Oh, I guess another good question would be, have I existed in other dimensions or other?
Oh yeah, I think we all have.
Okay.
Simultaneously, even.
You're right.
Oh,
Which is
in
really
two parts
trippy.
at once.
Cool.
Yeah, simultaneous.
You're there now.
You're there now.
Yeah, because I can go into a place and I can see stuff that's happened in the past that's going on. It's like I see people moving about their lives from a different era.
It's
It's
happening on
happening.
another channel.
Yeah, on a different channel tuning in. Exactly. Yeah, that's back to Einstein.
Yeah.
His theory of relativity,
Mm-hmm.
which is hard for most of us to comprehend. It's
Mhm.
like out there.
What is Albert Einstein doing now?
Good question. Formulating theories that he's putting into the mind of others.
Yeah, that's what I see. And can we tap into like, let's say I'm a musician and I want to channel or like be influenced by a deceased, or can you even do somebody that's living? Since
Yeah.
we're all
Yeah. There's a guy who lives in Orange County that I did a private appointment with, and he's a musician, and he wanted to. I forget what the question was, but we got that he was a protege of Bach in, I want to say Hamburg,
Hamburg, yeah.
and that he, in that lifetime when he was a protege, he wrote harpsichord concertos. What? I didn't know Bach wrote for the harpsichord, so we Googled it. The year was there, the city was there. Bach has written a bazillion concertos for harpsichord.
Wow.
It was wild. So yes, to your point,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. You can bring in anybody. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter when. Doesn't matter where. Yeah, anybody. But the other thing is, you can do that, but you can also have an idea for something, and you'll tune to that channel, and then it will be, the whole universe and all the deceased people and all of that. And I think that's what we were talking about. There isn't an original thought that exists.
Right.
I'm an inventor of surgical devices. I know that's not what my brain did. My brain was on that frequency, so I could pull in that information. Yeah. Which is amazing when you think about what we have the capability to access and to utilize. So whatever you're interested in at any given time.
Right.
So makes it really fun. Yeah. So other questions? Sir.
I don't know how much in the future you feel comfortable doing, but first one was, did me and Brandon know each other before? Because it's funny how I ended up here, and you just had a good feeling about it.
Yeah.
And then just kind of like your feelings on where this is all going.
A good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all know that. Huh?
Yeah. We're
The
the
potential energy.
Mystic
Yeah.
Manor. Like
we're the Mystic Manor.
this team.
Yeah. I think this is the launch pad for just this whole cottage industry came to mind. I think that this will go in directions that you haven't even remotely considered. And this is just the launch pad for it. I think here comes your puppy.
Doofus.
Hi, baby. Hi, Doofus. He's like, hey, I want to come join everybody.
Feels
Yeah.
the energy.
Yeah, he might.
You have anything from my brother,
What's his name?
Brian?
Brian. He's standing he's next to you on the right. They always show up on the right.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
they told me, my grandfather.
Yeah, they always show up on the right. And as soon as we think of them, they're in. People say, who's around me? I'm like, who do you want to talk to? We'll bring them in. It's instant. So if you have a question for him or.
Well, I guess just, is he okay? What's up? You good?
Heaven. Yeah, heaven is not physical. It's pure bliss. How long's he been gone?
It'll be 8 years next month.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Does he have anything I want to say to mom and dad, or?
He's sorry. Did he commit suicide?
Well, not really. I mean, no, drug overdose.
Okay. Yeah.
So like not an intentional.
That was his exit plan.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what he used to exit stage left.
Okay.
Yeah. He's telling me he committed suicide.
Oh.
That's what he told me.
Wow.
Yeah. And just used that.
Maybe I won't tell mom and dad that.
No. Just that he's sorry for the
Okay.
pain that he caused.
That.
He said that he was the renegade of the family, and that your parents had a tough time trying to figure him out. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
probably both of us
Yeah.
trying to figure us out. But
He's
But
telling
he was
me,
a
he's
tougher-
telling me you were way more compliant.
this is true.
You were way more compliant than
Yeah.
he was.
Mhm.
Yeah. But he's around you guys all the time. He's around your parents all the time.
Okay.
Yeah. Is your dad having sleep issues that you know of?
No, but he wouldn't tell me really
Okay.
if you.
He's saying that he is.
Oh yeah.
Does he sleep with a CPAP?
Mm-mm.
Okay. He may need to go to a sleep clinic. He's telling me yes. So explore that
Okay.
a little.
All
See
right.
if there's something going on along those ways. Have your mom, ask your mom, does he stop breathing in the middle of the night?
Okay.
Does she nudge him to wake him up?
I'll ask because
Because your brother's saying a sleep study would make sense.
okay. For Dad.
Which,
That's
you
cool.
think about really, you're going to go get a good night's sleep in the hospital being hooked up to electrodes.
Right.
I don't understand that, but whatever. Yeah, any other questions for him? He's saying you need to monetize your knowledge. Does that mean anything to you?
If I thought about it long enough, maybe, probably.
Yeah,
Is knowledge of what?
yeah. I'm getting working with the elderly.
Oh.
Working with the, and
Yeah.
again, books. I see a book
Oh, good, because I
There's a
like to
book.
write.
There's a book about your interaction with what we talked about at dinner,
Okay.
after dinner, your
Mhm.
interaction with the elderly as part of your therapy
Mhm.
and how therapeutic it is, and perhaps way more therapeutic in most instances than even whatever the physical therapy is that you do. Because you validate them as people, you give them your time, you give them your attention, you're genuinely interested. And people are just so busy that they don't take the time to do that a lot of the time
True.
with the elderly.
Mhm.
And you have a real affinity for that.
Mhm.
That's what I'm getting.
Yeah. Monetize my knowledge.
Monetize your knowledge.
Okay. Uh-huh. Very good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So he's saying it'll come to you.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Brad, you want to ask about your?
I'll go last. Unless you want to go last.
She wants to go last.
Okay.
I can't wait to hear your questions if she want to go
For a
last.
minute, for a minute.
I'm just open.
She kind of
Yeah.
reminiscent of them, so.
I have
My
two questions.
Sir.
One, especially recently, I felt a real connection to like ancient Greece, ancient Egypt. That's very, very strong. And specifically philosophers and philosophy and maybe spiritualists, which makes
He's
sense.
got the royalty thing going on.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the royalty thing, like buried in a, in a tomb with,
Oh,
Yeah, I feel that.
all your
He's always been very.
jars of stuff for the journey into
Oh,
the
yeah.
afterlife, like
All
the
your
ancient
organs.
Egyptians.
Ancient Egypt.
I also get that you've been into archaeology, big time.
In
Which
fact,
would-
on my way here, I was listening all about. Well, it's not quite archaeology, but it's like Joseph Campbell, myth, the archaeology of myth and understanding.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's where the Egyptian and Greek thing comes in too, because there's so much, archaeology wrapped around those civilizations and how advanced they were for their time and all of that. So, see what I get with that. But yeah, absolutely royalty in
Is there
Egypt.
a particular? It's like a pharaoh type.
Yeah,
Okay.
a pharaoh type thing during that time
Cool.
period. Yeah.
I felt very connected to Egypt.
Yeah.
And Greece both. And I feel like they're sister. They are connected too, for sure. Their cultures and energies meet closely. But
I'm getting Egypt even more than Greece. Yeah. So, do you have a question about that as far as your future, or?
Yeah. What about what your path? He's been really figuring out his path, and he's just recently made a decision. I think. And I don't know. That's just my suggestion, but obviously.
I've been teetering between being interested in acting and also very interested in game design because I see it as a method to create an art form that hasn't fully been explored, kind of the way the film was, and really an art form that can blast the user into the make any person a fine artist and the ability to create their own like amazing experiences. So I've been very interested in game design, but I also had this whole other plan of acting, and I definitely felt conflicted about which direction to head.
And music.
I see you combining them.
Hmm.
Combining them.
Hmm.
The acting part will come into the game design,
Hmm.
and the game design can foster the acting because in the game design, people can come up with a kind of a script
Yeah.
Mhm.
for what the game can be, and then that can go into an acting thing, and then other things can come out of that. So kind of like how Marvel, the comics are now movies
Right.
and all of that, that through the game design, those can be parlayed into other acting methods.
That makes sense. Like my biggest dream with game design is to create methods where people can tell their own stories, have their own, and
That's what I'm getting very
Yeah.
much.
that's my
World
That's-
building, creating the platform,
answer
and
is
letting
yes.
other people
Right.
build on top of it.
Yeah. And for you personally, that game design then will be parlayed into other mediums, if you will. Maybe live action, maybe animation, maybe
Yeah.
something audio, something published, book stuff. I mean, it's just
I'm super interested in.
Yeah.
Also, I'm really interested in it all. So it's like, what is
All the
Right.
arts,
Yeah.
he's like goes deep.
right.
into
I'm getting
all the
the
arts involved.
gaming is kind of the first step.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I have one last question,
Sure.
and I'm kind of conflicted on two because I don't want to take too much time.
No, that's all right.
One, I've been having real energy issues recently. Where like and I've always been a little cathartic. I'm just like it's hard for me to stir myself, and I'll get sleepy at like 3 or 4 every day. And, like all my friends have comment on it. Like, dude, you're always tired, and sleepy.
Because of your diet.
Really?
You're eating like crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're a college kid. It's kind of your job,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it
Right.
affects me heavily. I really.
It really
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
So, if
He's
God,
gonna clean up here.
if God made it, eat it.
for sure.
If man made it in the factory, try to avoid it.
I'll clean you out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
I think
I need
it's
You're
it's
about
just
to
what you're
start.
eating.
Really.
And you change that and it will immediately take care of it.
Well, I went through where a week where I'll eat really healthy and my energy problems are gone.
Yeah.
And then I'll go back to Taco Bell or whatever.
Oh God.
Right.
Crunchwrap Supreme. So tantalizing.
Just put you down though.
Yeah.
Last
Okay.
question.
Yeah.
My mother is definitely going through a tougher path than I am or my father is. And I don't know how much of it is spiritual and how much of it is psychological and how much of it is physical.
Mhm.
And I'm sure it's all at the same time.
Mhm.
And I don't really have a direct question about it, but I guess if you could analyze what's going on there, what does anything kind of come up for you? Pop out for you with
She has
that?
a physiological thing going on that's affecting the other stuff.
Mhm.
And that's without even scanning her. That's just information that I just got. So, it's a physiological thing.
I know
It's
something about her physiological that you were just talking about the middle.
No,
I met
odds.
his mom. She was the first in my band way back in the day with Kundalini, and she's the first one I met who knew what it was. And she's like, "Oh, they said my Kundalini was activated when I was young, and she has metal rods in her back because it's so curved." And she's very much for like yin and yang. She's very intense, but like she's tapping into like all the spiritual stuff, but in a very dark, twisted way. Like if she saw her right now, she'd be like, "I am the queen and goddess of this world. You are all my minions, and you'll be publicly beheaded if you do not bow to me." It's like really weird and creepy and like she's possessed kind of energy. Very like, we're like yin yang, and then he's just this very balanced, like,
The sun, the moon.
Yeah. Amen Clinics, Orange County,
Mhm.
Costa Mesa. They're
Mhm.
based there. You guys can get her there. Parts of her brain are not. I again, this is not with a scan. I haven't scanned her because I always ask permission first telepathically,
Mhm.
and I think that would be an invasion of her privacy
Mhm.
at this point, especially since we're live streaming. But
Mhm.
I just think it's an invasion of her privacy.
Mhm.
You want to do it later, we can do that with her permission, and I'll ask her.
You can't
telepathically.
really even deal with her in a rational way. If you were to talk to her, she'd think that President Bush sent you to do something. To
There
her.
are moments of losing.
You know what I mean? It's not.
So
like
that's what I'm getting, but it's a brain thing.
Yeah.
So it's not just mental illness; it's a physiological brain thing. I would get her seen at Amen clinics. They'll do a SPECT scan on her, and it'll show what parts of her brain are working and what parts aren't.
Mm.
So it's a physiological thing, and they'll have a treatment. method.
I'm in clinic.
Like Amen, Hallelujah,
Mhm.
the end of a prayer.
Mhm.
Check that out.
I don't know that you could ever get her there. He's only seen her once in like a decade because like she's so intense and kind of.
She bipolar?
I think so.
No, it's extreme psychosis.
Yeah, okay.
So does she work or does she?
Oh gosh, no, she can't. We don't even know where she is right now. Like go here, she'll just text like crazy things like about she thinks every song is about her, every movie, every.
It's what you would assume. What most people would assume is like extreme schizophrenia.
Yeah.
How it manifests.
Yeah.
And of course, she wasn't always like that, but about 10 years ago, it took a real wild turn.
That must be so hard for you to.
I think it's all part of the game plan. I think it's.
Oh, it is absolutely, and that's the thing. If you can stay neutral and say, okay, that's her spirit's path, what she wants to experience in this lifetime. What I have been told and what I believe is that things that we judge as right or wrong in the spirit world they're just an experience.
Yeah.
There's no judgment in
Right.
the spirit world. So in that kind of a situation or in any situation like that, if you can say, hey, well, that's what her spirit wants to experience in this lifetime. And it feels like we're really negating helping them at times. And I don't think that's the case necessarily. I think you do what you can, but at the end of the day, you can't create in somebody else's reality.
Yeah.
You can only create in your own. And so.
Yeah, it's there have been definitely moments of struggle and it's been intense, but
It's tough for that to be your mom.
I think I've been lucky to have the perspective that I do and be raised the way that I was because it helps a lot. And with my younger siblings, much harder. So I tried to be supportive of them and impart some of what I know.
Yeah. Well, I think you're an extraordinary young man.
Yeah.
Really.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very sweet.
Absolutely.
It's very sweet.
It's true. I think you're extraordinary, way beyond your years. And
I always say I think he's been the dad way more times than I have, or the parent. He feels much more like an older energy, and I'm such a little kid. So he's always seen.
Very
It's good.
wise.
You
Very
bring
wise.
out the kid in me.
But that's that Egyptian thing.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's always been. Even when he's like really little, he just like seemed like he'd meet people at like 5 and be, "Hello, it's such a pleasure to meet you." And people would be like, "What the hell?" Like,
How
you
cute.
know?
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 20.
Extraordinary. So Ian's gonna help you have more energy.
Yes.
He's the man to do it.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for your questions. Yeah. All right.
I'm open. Body scan, any messages you get, past lives, all of it. I'm just
Well,
I'm open.
What's the first thing that comes to mind?
I mean, I've never had a past life reading. I would love to hear that.
Okay. All right.
Anything related to, and just I'm curious.
So how, as I mentioned, how I do past lives is usually we come up with a question. Is there something that you think, hey, do I have a past life that is affecting me in this way, or something that's of interest to you? Because people will say to me, well, have I had a past life? And I'll say, yeah, lots. And they'll say, well, okay, well, tell me about it. Well, there's too many to tell you about.
You know, I'm actually doing past life tomorrow, so why don't we do body scans since that's your
Okay.
specialty?
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close my eyes
Great.
since we're going in blind,
Perfect.
because similar to when we're in a movie theater and it's dark, you can see more and there's less distractions.
Absolutely.
So, so what I do is I have a hologram of you in my mind's eye, kind of like beam me up, Scotty, when they're going to a different
Yes.
planet on
Yes.
Star Wars or to Star Trek.
Mhm.
And then I shoot energy from your feet up through the top of your head. You have a very large tear in your energy field membrane. That's the first thing that's come up. So we'll talk about that in a minute. And it's right here in the center of your, like goes between your breasts down to above your waist
Mhm.
in the middle. And it's not just a tear that's a slit. It's kind of a gaping, almost,
Mm.
I don't know what shape is that. It's not an oval with points on the end. What is it?
Diamond?
Like a marquee
Mhm.
shape,
Mhm.
like a diamond, marquee
Yeah.
diamond. So let's do that for fun. Let's
Okay,
go into
great.
that.
And what is
So,
that? What is this? Okay.
So here's how the body works. We are spiritual beings attached to a body having a human experience. Everything's energy.
Mhm.
Energy, the spirit energy is the power source for the body. So those of you that are listening, you'll hear this again tomorrow night about this. Spirit is the power source for the body.
Mm.
And any kind of specific energy that's going to be used for a specific purpose needs to be in some kind of a container. Like electricity is in wires coming into our home. Natural gas is in pipes, water is in pipes, that kind of thing. Same thing with the spirit and the body. So the body is inside of the spirit. Most of us are taught that the spirit, I was raised Roman Catholic, 12 years Catholic schools, I was taught the spirit was someplace in the chest area.
Yeah.
And that's not what I perceive. What I perceive is that the body's inside the spirit, which is why if you look at a painting or a depiction of somebody who's a holy person, oftentimes they have a halo around them or around their whole body or around their heads. Well, that's just their energy field. It's their spirit, their aura. Guess what? We all have that. EEGs, EKGs. What are they doing? They're picking up on the electrical current outside of the body. That's the energy field. So the container is what I call the energy field membrane. And that reminds me of really thin, stretchy saran wrap. And it's like a bubble. Imagine a bubble around the body and the spirit. When it has a tear or a hole in it, it allows an energy leak. Energy leaks always precede any kind of medical condition. Always, 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 100% of the time. Most people that are over the age of about 12 or 13 have an energy leak of some sort. And it's caused by some emotional experience, either in this lifetime or a past lifetime. So the best analogy I've come up with for this is imagine going to the pet store and buying a goldfish. They're going to put it in a plastic bag of water in order for you to get it home. So you have a picture of that in your mind's eye. The goldfish represents our body, the water represents our spirit, and the plastic bag represents our energy field membrane. So that bag with the fish in it, if it has a pinhole in it and the water's draining out a drop at a time, for a long time that fish is going to be fine. But when enough water drains out, that fish is going to be in trouble. And that's what happens to the human body. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into that tear and I'm going to be shown some kind of a scene, either from this lifetime or a past lifetime. It may be something very simple. For instance, somebody called you a bad name when you were little and it hurt your feelings. Maybe something really dramatic, like you were in an accident or got your heart broken or whatever. If it's past life, we'll get information, we'll correlate it with what's going on in your current life. As soon as we illuminate it, that tear is going to heal instantly. And then you'll be working on full power. And when our bodies are working on full power, we are able to restore health and maintain health. Because, you think about like a car that's not running properly, well, you get whatever's broken fixed on it, and then it runs more efficiently. Same thing with the body. So I'm going into that tear. So the year's 1947. So this is a past life thing. Poland. It's in Poland. It's in Minsk in Poland. Okay, you're a man. Your name is Joseph. and it sounds like Svetlana, but it's not. But phonetically, that's what it sounds like to me.
Mhm.
Svetlana's Russian,
Mhm.
so it's a last name that sounds like that. All right, so yeah, it's that tear is repairing. So let's see if we can get some more information just because it's fun to see what comes up. And then a lot of times we can correlate it with historic information. And I'll tell you a fun story about. I may save it for tomorrow night. We may
okay.
we want to because this one's really fun on a past life thing that we got all this in. Well, no, I'll tell you one tonight, and then I'll tell you one tomorrow night.
Okay.
All right. So what happened with Joseph, and then we'll figure out how it affects this lifetime. I see you going down this road. It looks like Fiddler on the Roof. We were talking about that earlier. And you've got what looks like a wheelbarrow, but it's a cart, and it's got it has boxes on it. I think you're like a farmer that sells his produce at a market,
Mm.
and you're Jewish
Yes.
in that lifetime. All right, you're Jewish.
I always wanted to be Jewish.
Yeah, you're Jewish because you've got they call it a shawl, that apron thing that they have. Is that what that's called? A shawl or a shawl or something. You've got a yarmulke on. It's winter. You've got a beard. All right. So what happened?
That's so awesome.
So 1947. That's like that's right after World War II, but still, certainly the Jews were persecuted. In Poland and lots of other places. So you're scared to death walking down this road because there's still military in and around. You're just weary trying to provide for your family in a tough time. That's what I'm getting. So, how does this correlate with this lifetime? I get there's a weariness, there's a heaviness for you. By the way, that energy field membrane tear is all fixed.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll shoot energy into you, and you'll light up like the North Star here in a second. But what I'm getting is that there's a weariness about you, or that you feel like a heaviness. Maybe you're not even as cognizant of it as you could be, as far as having to provide for yourself and for your family. Do you provide for your family? Do you help out your family financially or emotionally or? Okay, all right. But it weighs heavy on you at times where you think, really, do I have to take care of all these people all the time and myself? And is that resonating with you at all?
It does.
Okay, how so?
Yeah, I think like a natural provider and caretaker.
Okay. And does it feel heavy at times? Do you feel like it's a burden? Do you feel like it's?
I enjoy it, but yeah, I like support.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I would think. Okay,
Somebody who just naturally is the same way, I guess.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, or not.
Yeah.
The yang to your yang.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that membrane is healed now. And so I'm going to shoot energy from your feet up through the top of your head, and you look like Our Lady of Guadalupe. You have a halo around you, and you have beams of energy coming out from here. Have you ever seen a picture of Our Lady of Guadalupe? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, you can look it up.
Nice.
Yeah. So where's the Jewish connection? On cue.
You know what? And because I am from Russia, there's a lot of history has just sort of been erased because if you're in or any sort of business back then wasn't allowed. So a lot of records is my family was in business and my grandmother's dad was Jewish. So
Okay.
yeah. So
okay. Yeah. So again, with that theme, like we were talking about at dinner, there's a general theme that comes through different lifetimes, and it gives you the opportunity to be in a different day and age with different circumstances and different. You have lots of other opportunities that perhaps you didn't have in a previous lifetime. So it lets you look at things from a different perspective. And that's what our spirits are all about, is expanding what we want to experience
Is
and
there?
creating what we want to experience.
I was just gonna say, like, is there a lesson or something that I need to deliver in this lifetime, or anything that's coming up that sort of like a purpose for this lifetime?
Well, yeah, you're on it. You're on it already.
I feel it.
Yeah. And I don't know that there's any should ever. I think that's where that free will thing comes in, and the destiny, and there's not just a fork in the road, there are a bazillion forks in the road, and you go down one fork and you check that out for a while, and it doesn't mean that if you change course that you're a failure. It just means that you're interested in something else. Going, yeah, I think you have an opportunity based on that, being a provider for everybody, to find an equilibrium where you don't feel weighted down by it. So it's something that you feel like you have to do at this point, and that this is what you're exploring right now, is how do I get to the place where I can do it and it feels good to do it, but I don't feel like I have to do it, kind of a thing. Does that make sense? Okay. You're welcome. You're welcome. This is
Well, I
fun.
should have asked Bunny
Super.
again.
You could do that tomorrow.
Yeah. There you go. Aw, this has been awesome.
And you keep like sinking down.
I know, I was laughing at him. He's like in between all the
This
cushions.
is mostly for fun, not because I fell.
I figured it was just comfy down there. Yeah, it's like you're in
A
your little
bit of that
cave.
too.
Yeah. So, well, this was fun. Thanks, you
Super.
guys.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Mia.
yeah.
Cool.
It's really fun to.
Thank you.
You know, I am so fortunate because I get to meet people from all over the world,
Yeah.
and they ask all these questions. And
How's your family like? I mean, are they already over it, or do they invite you to?
it's kind of like the cobbler's kids don't have any shoes.
Mhm.
You know, sometimes if they've got something going on, I want to go, "What? You know, am I chopped liver? I'm right here. Ask me.
Mhm.
You know, I'm happy to help
Mhm.
Yeah.
here." But my son has certainly been raised with this, and so he's cool, and so's my husband,
Yeah.
because they've just there've been so many instances where what I was getting was validated.
Yeah.
And so they know it's legit. And when Jonathan, my son, was little, he would say, "Mommy, ask the spirits and beyond," which I love. So we still laugh about that. And he didn't like it too well when he was in school and didn't feel like going to school. He'd say, "Mommy, my throat hurts. I need to stay home." And I'd be like, "Yeah, you don't have strep throat.
Yeah.
You know, here. You'll be fine." Or he'll come downstairs and say, "Yeah, I threw up this morning." I'm like, "Yeah, it's not. You'll be fine. Go to school. Call me. You know, I can come get you if you feel sick later." So he didn't feel like he got away with a whole lot, which was convenient.
Do you get anything ever surrounding that's like extraterrestrial?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Tons of them.
Cool.
Yeah.
I don't think we talked about that really.
I don't know that we have, but yeah. Well, like I was telling you this story about the guy on another planet who was the electrical engineer.
Right.
Yeah.
As far as like, you know, of course, there's even lately been so much energy around it. You know, the government,
Congress has hearings going on.
Right.
Area 51.
Oh,
Yeah, there's just a lot bubbling up right now.
Stuff. I actually wrote a blog recently about that because somebody had seen 2 orange orbs in the sky in 2 different states on 2 different occasions. And they were Russian, they were similar to the Russians. This is seen in Russia, and they're firing off test missile kind of development stuff. And this was out in the boonies, and it was really far away, but I got that it was a contractor of the government that was doing some missile defense.
Were you guys here when was John here when you first got here?
Yeah, John said he saw you.
Yeah, John. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. He was here. So, my friend who's been staying here, and he's not here right now, but been working, helping. He built a lot of this. He on the ride down here from Northern California, like a couple weeks ago, he said he heard like a boom, and then he saw like two jets chasing something that was phasing in and out of like it was like different color or translucent, yeah, and then it would disappear again and then reappear, and he's like watching these jets chase it over a mountain horizon.
Well, I think some of that is espionage stuff,
Right.
and I think some of it can be UFOs as well.
What's
but
that with espionage again?
espionage, like,
Spying
could be another country spying on us. When in the 50s, when the flying saucer image arose, where it looked like a saucer with a dome on it, there were a lot of people that had spotted that. A lot. I mean, there were people that had spotted it, and Werner von Braun, spelled Braun, B-R-A-U-N, was a German scientist who came over after World War II with his team, and they were the rocket scientists, and they are the ones that put the man on the moon, and they're at NASA, and they were all in Huntsville, Alabama. And I'm a big fan of his. I love reading his stuff. Well, half of those scientists went to Russia. The other half came to the U.S. And when these UFOs were spotted, von Braun said that was a prototype that was developed in Germany during the war. And the guy who developed it went to Russia. He was one of the rocket scientists that went to Russia. So he had seen prototypes and blueprints and all the engineering renderings and stuff like that, which was interesting. So, and even today, I think, you say flying saucer, everybody knows that's a UFO, but von Braun kind of debunked that and said, it's Russia. So that'll be interesting to see what they come up with on that. But if you see an orb in a photograph, or digital cameras are so fast, that's a spirit. That's somebody's spirit that's there.
And it doesn't matter what color.
People will send me photographs and they'll say, okay, who's in these pictures? And I'll say, okay, that's your grandma Ann, and that's, whoever, that's cousin Lucy, and that's somebody else. So that's fun. But the past life story I was going to tell you, I did a past life on a man recently, and I got that he was a British admiral in the late 1700s, and we got his name, and we got that he was commander of the Atlantic Fleet, and he was really involved in some French naval battle, whatever. I don't know British or French naval history. But we Googled it, and it was all online. It was wild.
Crazy.
Yeah, we do this a lot. And then if you ask me tomorrow night, there's another story that's very recent that was really fun. Yeah, that will do. So yeah, the stories are really fun. Because I talk to thousands of people a year.
Right.
And
What's
so
another fun question about past life that we'd ask?
save it for tomorrow night, because you
Yeah.
can have the opportunity to ask a
cool.
question.
Yes.
So we thought we'd do this because then that would give you guys some time to ponder, what's the question that you want to ask.
So we get to ask tomorrow night something new.
Well, you're gonna get to come on stage and can ask any question that you want.
Oh, really?
And then if Julie's up for it, then we'll with the 26 guests here, we can play for a little while. After
Yeah,
the taping.
sure.
What are
I
some
think
of
it
the
should
good
just be us.
questions?
I know, right?
What are some
This
of the
could go on all
questions
night,
that
right?
you think are good, like kind of more specific, I guess, or
Oh,
more influential?
look at my website, askjulieryan.com. There's,
Okay.
there's a question asked every week that I answer in my blog.
Okay, cool.
And then
Yeah.
that's the theme of the show, primarily so I can have a graphic to utilize. And then there are 10 or 12 people that call in every week. And then it's just across the board. Romance, medical, can you scan my cat? Past life thing, spirit guide thing, can you scan my mom?
Do you think most romance is like significant romance or like repeated? Like I have one person in my past that we have a lot of synchronicity with, like tied in with names, and I have this crazy birthday synchronicity. I don't think I've ever told you, but she ties into that, and And like it's my dad's birthday, it's my birthday, tomorrow night at midnight.
Right.
And then it's like goes on. It's like a 15-minute story, but it's his grandmother's birthday. My great great died on that day. I met her on that day. Her ex committed suicide on that day. His name is Anson. All my relatives are from Anson, North Carolina, with that birthday. Like that's just like I could tell you another 10 minutes. It just keeps going and going and going.
Yeah.
With July 28th. And yeah. So I wonder. She called her grandmother Mall Moo. I called mine Moo Mall. Like things like that.
And
Like,
I had a Meemaw.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So that's even a little more common, maybe, but it's similar, right?
Yeah.
So I just curious. It's like, these are probably souls that we've played these roles a bunch of times.
I think everybody in our life is a soulmate.
Yeah.
And then we have romantic soulmates.
Yeah.
I mean, literature and the entertainment industry has kind of brainwashed all of us that we have one soulmate
Right,
and we
right.
have to find them, and it's a romantic soulmate.
Mhm.
Well, your parents are your soulmates, your
Yeah.
siblings are your soulmates,
Yeah.
your acquaintance. You guys are all
Yep,
soulmates.
right. Soul fam. Yeah. Totally.
So everybody in your life is a soulmate, even if they get on your last nerve and you don't want to be around them. They're a
Yeah.
soulmate.
Yeah.
They're there for you to
Yeah.
learn and expand from and all of that. So I think the romantic soulmate thing is a really good concept, and I think we have multiple romantic soulmates.
Yeah.
So this theory of you have one person that you're going to meet in your life and that's it is just
No, I'd never really subscribed to that, but
it sells a lot of books and does a lot of
Yeah.
movies,
Yeah.
makes a lot of movies, but I don't think that's
I
the
like
case.
that.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that we change certainly different phases in our life.
different people
Yeah,
at different
different
times
people.
are appropriate.
Yeah. And the people that show up when you need them to show up.
Yeah.
Always.
Right.
So whoever you need is gonna show up. Again, you're tuned into that frequency.
Yep.
Your satellite dish of your head is tuned into that frequency.
Totally.
So it's like when you're in the car, you play the jazz station, you get jazz music. You play the
Mhm.
classical music station, you're gonna get classical music. It's the same theory.
Yeah.
I feel like you must be like a really big outcast in Alabama.
I'm not. Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
not.
it's getting real.
Yeah.
No.
Why?
No, I think people are. We were talking about this at dinner. People are interested in woo woo all over.
Okay.
Yeah. Although, when I first released my book, I went, oh my God, I live in the deep south. I'm gonna have the Klan on my front yard burning a cross or something, But I hadn't, no. And people say to me, well, if you get a snarky email sent to you, what do you do? How do you respond? I think delete.
Mhm.
They're on a different frequency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't change
Yeah.
minds, right?
And it's their prerogative to think whatever they want to think. I don't care. I don't feel like I need to prove anything to anybody. If it's for you, great. If it's not, great.
Mhm.
Enjoy whatever it is that you enjoy.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
I have
Thank you.
one. I'm just curious because I've felt this Egypt connection for so long.
Yeah.
Is there any specific details that you could extract? Like, is there a name that comes up or anything like that comes up with this figure?
Musa has come up.
Musa.
The name Musa, and also Mohammed.
Oh, okay.
Has come up. Well, but Musa was the first one. And I think that's an African name.
Yeah. Like Mansa Musa.
And I know a Musa who's from Senegal.
Hmm.
But it's not a very common name. So that would be interesting to see, that's all the same part of the world, like pretty close.
Yeah.
It would be interesting to look that up. Moussa is how I.
Moussa. Okay. I'm gonna get my phone on.
Yeah, look that up and see if there's something there along those lines.
That's Egypt related.
That's what I'm getting. Egypt way more than Greece for you.
Interesting.
Ancient.
Yeah.
Yeah. Goes back to ancient Egypt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Like
feel that.
hieroglyphics and the Sphinx and the pyramids and the.
Yeah. Well, I think Egypt goes back way further than people think it does.
Oh
So,
yeah. Oh yeah. one of the first cultures. But that whole area in there, and you know, Jesus spent a lot of time in Egypt, and there was those stories go, because it's kind of like they talk about his childhood and then they talk about
His adulthood.
his adulthood when he was about 30.
Right.
Then there's all that in between.
Mhm.
And there are some schools of thought that he was taught a lot of healing modalities and things when he was in Egypt. So I think a lot of this woo-woo stuff
It was there.
was there, and certainly the Greeks with mythology and all of that.
But the Egyptians,
But
really, I feel, there's like mystical. Yeah, there's a very.
It's right. It's more mystical than the Greeks. It was more of a
Philosophical.
Greeks are more philosophical.
philosophical, and it was more right and wrong
Yeah.
based. You know, it was like this god controls that, and that god controls this, and
It's more Western. It's definitely more Western.
right. But the mystical is a good way to describe it. You know, with Egyptian.
You ever
Yeah,
seen anything pertaining to like Lemuria or Atlantis or?
I think they existed. I believe they existed. I haven't ever had anybody ask me about them all these years.
How about the Bermuda Triangle?
Bermuda Triangle, I believe, is a
Is it like a vortex of energy?
it's a
or
vortex.
something?
Yeah.
What flat Earth?
I'm sorry.
Flat Earth.
Flatters.
Flat
What do you think
Earth.
about flat Earth?
Flat Earth.
The ones that believe that Earth is flat.
Yeah. Yeah, I've read some of that. I get a no on that when I ask the question. But here's the deal with asking questions and getting information. You got to be really specific how you ask the question, because Spirit's always going to give you accurate answers. Where the variability comes in is how do you ask the question. Spirits are really literal, really literal. So keep refining it down, the question. So is the Earth flat? Is a pretty general question. Well, it's flat in Kansas.
I feel like that's
Flat
part of my
Kansas,
personality too.
So you want to ask something more specific, like the planet Earth. Is the planet Earth round, or is the whole planet Earth flat? See the difference?
Mhm.
You know, versus is the Earth flat? Well, flat in places, but when you ask it in a more specific way, that makes a difference.
What about when you ask yourself questions about you?
Yeah, get answers. So here's how that works. You ask a question in your head, and it's within a second you're gonna get an answer. If you think about it for more than a couple of seconds, that's gonna be your brain answering you. Okay, and the more you do it, the more adept you're gonna get at it. Be super specific. Know that the information is going to come in. It doesn't even have to be a question. You can make a statement. You can have a conversation with anybody. And so it's just spirits communicate telepathically. Sometimes they'll communicate, like if they want to get your attention through smell or through sound or you'll see somebody out of the corner of your eye. A lot of people that lose pets, they'll think they hear them. They'll think they feel them. They are. They're feeling their spirits. Little kids have imaginary friends. They're not imaginary normally. It's just that the grown-ups can't see them.
Yeah.
Because little children at the age of about 6 or 7, their filters start to really get put in place. Because we're supposed to have the human experience.
Right.
And so when all those filters are there, it's integrating both, but that's when the past life memories really aren't as accessible either. I find with little kids, but little kids will come up with some interesting things about past lives.
Yeah.
Have you heard some? Yeah.
My cousin would always talk about like dying in a motorcycle crash and being a man. And she's a girl now.
Yeah. First time I saw that was on Oprah, probably 30 years ago, and she had this little white little boy who was maybe 3. On, and he had been a Confederate soldier in a black regiment. And he talked about battles, and he talked about his dog tags, and he talked about who his commanding officer was and where the battles were that he was in. This kid couldn't read. I mean, there was no way this child would have
Some
known
wild
this
stories around that with little kids knowing
Yeah.
detail.
Right.
Know the families and everything.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
neighborhoods.
So I say you can't make this stuff up.
No, some of it's little kids, and then they go and verify. Like,
Yeah. Well, like this past life thing. You know, that's a good way. The medical stuff.
There was
Yeah.
one and it got pretty well documented because it was a professor at a university went and like researched this hole in the East somewhere. This little kid said, my name was this, I was married to this, I lived here, I was killed by this person, the weapon is buried here. Did it like they confronted the supposed killer. He denied it. They found the buried weapon, then he admitted it. He saw his old wife. He like full, and the professor guy was like documenting the whole thing, you know, and he was like really super credible, you know,
Right.
person.
Right.
There's some wild ones.
Yeah.
Coming back with a vengeance right there.
Yeah, exactly, dude. He
Got
totally
you.
busted him.
There's a book called The Heart's Code that talks about that, about the heart having cellular memory.
Oh
And
yeah.
when there's a donor, you know, they get that memory. And there's been like a little girl that was killed. He got her heart, and all of a sudden, or it was another little girl got the girl's heart, but she kept having nightmares. Like, this is the man that killed me. Had my, you know, the old heart was telling the new
Mhm.
person. Yeah.
What's
So,
going on?
yeah.
The heart sends more signals to the brain than the brain does the heart.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
So.
Interesting. Well, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
This was fun.
Hope you guys enjoyed this.
Awesome.
You
Yeah.
who are tuning in, hopefully it was as fun for you as it was for us. Till next time, we'll see you guys. We're going to probably live broadcast tomorrow night as well. Say goodbye,
My
everyone.
dear, have lots of stuff unfolding for you.